Buckle up with Duncan, Jeff, and Sloan. Let's fill our cups. Commander decks in hand, the battle's about to start. A podcast for the legends, where magic meets the heart. Commander's Pod, where the stories unfold, with heroes and villains, new and old. Duncan, Jeff, and Sloan guide the way in the world of EDH we play.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to Commander's Pod. Another video episode for you. So that's two in a row, as long as I can get the editing done. If not, pay no attention to what I just said. My name is Duncan. I'm joined by Sloan.
What's up, guys?
And Jeff.
What's up?
And we are Commander's Pod. Thank you for joining us. So we just had an episode. We recorded these back-to-back. So last week's episode was about the bans.
Indeed.
And today we're going to talk about the aftermath of the bans, how to move on. What do we got put in there besides that? Before we do that, let's do a little bit of that doesn't do what you think it does.
Yeah, absolutely.
This one's very simple, straightforward, but it is something I have seen come up a couple times, and that is Force of Negation.
Yep.
Force of Negation, when can you use that as a free spell?
Well, it's an instant, so I would say at any time, Duncan.
Well, yes, but if it's free, for it to be free, don't you put that down. Put that down.
I already read the.
You're on video.
I know I'm on video, but I already read the notes.
Okay,
so I'm gonna play the dummy.
So Jeff, you didn't read the notes.
Yeah.
You never do.
No.
So Jeff, when can you play Force of Negation for free?
Is that the one where you have to discard a blue card to do it?
Yeah, I think so.
Yes.
You have to
So
exile.
I
a
would
blue
assume
card.
when you can discard a blue card.
So you are partly correct. You can only do it if it is not your turn.
Oh, that is true. That is on the card.
Yeah.
Yes.
If
Reading
reading
the
the card sometimes explains the cards.
Yes.
It used to always explain the cards, but now it only sometimes does.
Right.
Yeah.
And sometimes only a little bit of it.
And reading the episode notes explains the segments.
Yes.
Jeff.
Right.
Yeah, but also this segment's better because I didn't, because he had someone to ask.
that's true.
So
But yeah, so that's how that works. So let's jump right into the topic. Because
Yeah.
I think that we're gonna have some fun with this.
Yeah.
So let's talk about cards you can put in. So we no longer have Mana Crypt or Jeweled Lotus or Dockside, and to heck with Nadu, we don't care.
That's the real.
Yeah.
That's the real hero in this.
Okay,
group.
so I have one answer for how to replace Nadu. Be a better person.
yeah, so
And
don't replace
what
that.
are you doing with your Nadu deck?
It's already taken apart.
That's what I thought.
But I only did it
The
when
one person at this table who played it often.
I am like the streetwalker of Magic. I only did it when money was high enough.
You're
Right.
like the streetwalker of magic.
Yes.
I mean,
Codfather's gone. Corner Father is in.
corner father. I'll take Podfather. You can have corner father.
No, I'm keeping both.
No. Yeah. I mean,
But who's
This is-
paying? Like,
I
we're
don't
getting
know.
off topic.
This is already derailed. Okay, so yeah, so I know that
It's a
Nadu.
very lonely lady.
Jeez. We're not gonna get past this. Okay, Nadu, I know for a fact you only played for CEDH purposes.
Right.
It was
and
the only reason why it was
only
built.
in tournaments where the value was just like, you know what? I really want to win $1,100 or I really want to win.
Technically, the first tournament you played him in, you're just being a
Yeah, so
degenerate.
that one was, I just wanted to see,
has to
was he as
practice
bad
with it.
as
Yeah.
people said?
Yeah, he
and
has to practice.
yes, he was.
Yeah, that was a pretty rough one. So, but I mean, I will say this. I know that in regards to these three cards, two of which can go in any deck, right? You're in regards to Commander, your Jeweled Lotus and your Mana Crypt. Those two are going to be ones that are probably more prevalent to try to replace because of the fact that a lot of people ran them in a lot of things. Your Dockside, that one's, in my opinion, that's going to be the hardest one to replace because a lot of people, the reason why you ran it was for the combo. As I mentioned in the last episode, I have them in my Kess deck. That's my CDH deck that's proxied. And in one turn, I got up to like 140 treasures with them and
Yeah,
won
but
the
there's
game.
more than enough combos.
Right.
Replace
Right.
it with a different combo.
But let's go systematically, right?
Yeah.
We'll start with Mana Crypt. All right.
Okay.
So there's some obvious ones, and Jeff, I know you had these on your list, but a lot of people who played Mana Crypt
Sure.
might have played these. So we're just gonna do these as a group.
Okay.
Mox Diamond, Chrome Mox, Mox Opal, and Lotus Petal. Those four, you probably, if you're playing all the fast mana, you were probably already playing all those.
Right.
And Mox Diamond, it's a $500 card, so financially, not the same. That's more than twice what Mana Crypt was.
Yeah.
And I am not recommending you go buy Mox Diamond because of we don't know if they're going to ban it. Right?
Yeah, with specifically if you're unaware of the reasonings
Yeah, we're
behind the
giving our
bans.
replacements. We're just giving new targets.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, yeah, with Duncan's history right now, if whatever he says is pretty much guaranteed it's going to be banned within the next couple of years.
If you're part of the
Potentially
rules committee,
weeks.
please turn off for the rest of this segment.
Thank you.
I mean, with Jeff talking, they're probably turned off already.
That's probably true.
Jeez,
Or looking at my ugly mug.
listen, there were so many things that came in my head and I did not say them because I'm trying to stay on topic, which is ridiculous because I'm usually the worst about this. But anyways, the ones
You
that
are
you
the
just
worst.
mentioned,
Sorry,
we're not going to be able to get through this. Okay, the ones that we just mentioned, yes, they are
And Mana Vault. Sorry, Mana Vault.
Mana Vault. They're all fast mana. Now, with that being said, if you're wondering why we're bringing that up, go read the article that they released about the bans with the bans. It's right on their website. It goes through. I think it's like maybe 10-ish paragraphs. I think it's not super long either. The paragraphs are like 3 to 4 sentences. I mean, I got through it in like 15
There's
minutes.
no big words. Sloan could read it. You can
Yeah,
read it.
I got through it in 15 minutes, which means most of you can probably read it within 5 or less. So, but the whole reasoning behind the bans, just to kind of, give a brief summary, is they want the pace of the game to be brought back. It was too fast. They thought it was getting out of control, so they wanted to pull the reins on it and get the game slowed back down a little bit to where they want it to be. They addressed Soul Ring. We already talked about that last episode. We're not going to bring it up again. If you want to know why it's
But they're not
banned,
going to ban it.
yeah, they did say in that article they will not ban Soul Ring. It just is not an option for them. So getting past all that, Mana Vault. Now, and the Moxes you just mentioned, yes, all very expensive cards.
And Lotus Petal.
Lotus Petal, yeah,
Lotus Petal is not too bad. That's like $10.
yeah. So that one's not too bad. But the Moxes are somewhat expensive because again they are 0 drops.
Did we forget Mox Amber, by the way?
Nope, he said that.
No, I did not say Mox
You
Amber.
did not.
So Mox
go.
Amber,
So there,
I got to tell you, I still don't like Mox Amber.
Oh,
You
I
have
love-
to have something out for it to work,
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's a great card, though.
but it's not going to get your commander out. Usually your commander's already out.
Well, but you don't have to have your commanders. Legendary creatures and planeswalkers you control.
Right.
There are
Right.
tons
People
of
don't play
legendary creatures.
planeswalkers
But
that
they
much.
play a ton
That's
of
true.
legendary creatures now.
Yeah.
well, I mean,
There's a
the new
bajillion.
Depends on
planeswalkers
your
from
deck.
Modern Horizons 3 are 1 drops.
Yeah.
So
I mean, it depends on your deck, but you have to have something out. Otherwise, it's a dead card. I mean,
Yeah.
it costs you
Yeah.
nothing, but it's still one of your 100 cards. And
yeah, I mean, like for example, that would be so. Kind of give you an idea. I have and you actually have this too, a legendary tribal deck
yeah.
with what's her face?
No, so she's not my commander anymore.
Oh, who'd you make it?
Harvey the Allfather.
Okay. Oh, from Javi, the Allfather from Assassin's Creed.
Yeah.
I have 2 of those. That's awesome.
Yep.
The guy that I'm talking about for myself is Aragorn the Uniter. He's a 4 colors, red, blue, green, white, and that is my legendary tribal. So for me, that's a great card to put in there if I had, a Mana Crypt.
Well,
and I
yeah,
had to
legendary
replace it.
tribal for sure.
Yeah, because it cares about legendary.
I think you guys mean typo. But
I say
What?
tribal.
Typal.
I'm not saying typal. That's a fake word.
Also, Mox Opal, that's, in my opinion, more of a dead card than Mox Amber.
And what's Mock Opal? Hold on. Read it out loud in case our viewers don't know.
Add 1 mana of any color to your mana pool. Activate this ability only if you control 3 or more artifacts.
cost 0 to drop.
0 drop.
Yeah.
Same thing with Mox Opal.
Mox Amber.
Not Mox Amber is also a 0 drop.
Mm-hmm.
So
And then Mox Diamond, it's not a dead card, but you are giving up a card out of your hand.
right.
Well, it's a
So it's
land.
2 cards.
A land.
Yeah, which is
Specifically.
maybe not good.
And I don't play as many lands as you do.
Yeah.
I've had times where I have it. I played a game last night. Now it worked out fine. I had 2 lands, that, and an Arcane Signet.
Yeah. That's living on the edge.
You
Yeah,
know,
that's-
I got there,
Yeah, that's.
but
close.
I didn't draw a land for 2 more turns, but I still had 4 mana. I was okay.
Yeah. See, for me, that's more than enough.
Yeah. 4 mana on turn 1 should be more than enough.
Well, I will say
on
this.
turn 2, you should still be pretty good.
Yeah, I would say
4 mana on turn 1 is a lot. That's fast mana. That's a problem.
Yeah, if you're thinking, I think Sloan would start with this. You probably shouldn't start with it. That's
Yeah.
just a rule of thumb. But yeah, those are good examples of cards that are
Chrome
pretty
Mox, you are
decent
also
replacements.
exiling a card. With Mox Diamond, you have to discard a land card in addition to playing it.
and then it
Chrome
taps
Mox,
for whatever colors are on
Chrome Mox.
Chrome Mox
Yeah,
taps.
Mox Diamond taps for any color.
Right, okay.
Chrome Mox taps for the color of the card you exile with it. So a lot of people like to exile multicolor cards so you can get multiple
That one
colors.
specifically, that's what you're trying to do. You're trying to hopefully exile something that has multicolored.
So that's
Which-
our first level of replacements for that card, but there is a second level.
Oh
of
yeah, no,
replacements
those
for
are the ones
card.
that probably some of those you're playing if you played Mana Crypt, maybe
Right.
not all of them. Lotus Petal sees a lot of play. The other ones being so expensive don't see as much play. Again, be wary of going to buy them. We don't know they're safe.
Well, Mox Opal's 72, Chrome Mox is 75, Mox Amber is only 27.
yeah.
So I mean,
That tells you right there.
they're more reasonable than
Well,
Yeah,
they're
again,
less
Mana
useful.
Crypt,
replacing.
Mana Crypt at its peak, we said it was averaging around 200, right? So,
180
I mean,
to
you could
200.
literally buy all three of those for less than one Mana
And the
Crypt.
same cards that replace
Well,
Mana Crypt
not
pretty
anymore,
much
but-
also replace
Jewel Lotus.
Jewel Lotus.
Yeah, so we've
Yeah.
probably got to talk about these together, right? Because
Yeah, so, I
those
mean-
two kind of you're not going to find different things to replace Jewel Lotus than the Mana Crypt.
But I
They're just-
believe there's a second level and a third level of replacements.
okay, maybe.
Yeah, and I would
so-
say too,
so-
the other thing to address while we're on it with Jewel Lotus is because that's going to produce colored mana, specifically one type of color mana. So when it comes to replacements for that, especially because you have to sack that, the advantage of, I guess, if you want to try to find a plus, is that wherever you're going to replace it for, probably you're not going to have to sack when you use it every single time. So there's a little bit of a benefit there. But you're probably, when we're saying replacements, we're not saying these are exactly the same thing and you're going to be able to do it. We're just saying that these are the best cards to, we think, replace these bans with that are going to at least still give you some kind of fast mana.
Right.
Because there is no other card that's really going to be like Mana Crypt. There is no
there's a
other
reason
card that's really
it
good.
was so
That's
good.
not, that's like Jewel.
There's a
just
reason
not-
it got banned. It was
Right.
the best. It was like Wolverine. It was the best era as at what it does.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
what it does wasn't pretty because it probably hurt you too.
Yeah.
Yeah, so, but that, when we say replacements, we're not saying these are the exact same thing. You're going to get all the value. You're going to get the same exact. It's not. These are just what we feel like are going to help replace and give you some fast mana still.
There's another group of zero cost cards.
Mm-hmm.
Can we just say them all together and people can
Yeah.
look them up?
Sure.
Yep.
That's well, actually, Soul Talisman ends up being one, but there's Lotus Bloom and Mox Tantalite.
So let me tell you, I play Lotus Bloom a lot and have for a while.
Yeah.
Lotus Bloom costs 2 to get out. Right?
And then what's its ability to do specifically?
On your upkeep, you put a counter on it, and then you can tap it, sack it for as many counters as were on it.
Lotus Bloom suspend 3 costs 0.
Oh, that's not the one I'm talking about
Yeah.
then.
So this sacrifice Lotus Bloom, add 3 mana of any one color.
Okay.
You're just suspending it for 3
Yep,
turns.
that's not the one.
And
costs you
that's the
0.
same thing that is going to happen with the other two you mentioned.
Well, Mox
Tantalite.
Tantalite is going to only tap for 1 though, instead of it sacrificed for 3. And then the difference with the Soul Talisman is you're suspending 3, but you're paying 1, and then it taps for 2 colorless. So
Right, but what
it's
I'm
a
saying is
Soul
they're all
Ring
suspend. They're all suspend
They're
3.
all
So
suspend.
they're
So
all going to
I
be
have
a
I have an
3-turn delay.
alternative, but I think it's equivalent, so I'm going to name this in the same
Yeah.
one. The one I was thinking of when you said Lotus Blossom
Yep.
was Lotus Petal, not Lotus Petal.
I think
Jeez,
that is what you're thinking about.
No, not that. Lotus Petal was play for 0, sack it. We already talked about this
Yeah.
one. Lotus Bloom. There we go. Got there. Wow.
Yeah.
Lotus Bloom costs 2.
No.
Lotus Blossom, I think, is what you're thinking of.
Well, let's look it up.
Yeah.
Okay.
Why don't-
Which
why
one
don't we
did you
move
just
on?
say?
Lotus Bloom.
Okay, then it's Lotus Blossom.
That's what I thought.
Again,
Okay.
yes, thank you.
You're
Lotus Blossom cost 2. On your upkeep, you put a counter on it. You can at any time sack it and get a number of colored mana equal to the number of counters on it. Now, to me, turn 1, you might have 2 mana if you have a Soul Ring. You play that. By the time you're going to suspend these things, you could also have 2, 3, 4 counters on this.
Right.
You know, so I think it's a way to get mana down the road. It's kind of a layaway plan.
Yeah, it's a fun
Yeah.
one to put in an Atraxa.
Oh yeah, for sure. Anything with proliferate.
Yeah. So, so those are going to be more of your low CMC cost, but fast mana options. I would say those are going to be the ones that are going to be like your.
Well, the nice thing
closer
about them
to-
is they give you ramp, but they're not that fast because they're suspend 3.
Right.
Well,
Yeah.
yeah. Well, I'm talking about the first set are going to be closer to your 0 cost
Yes.
and give you immediate mana.
Yes.
These ones are going to be they're no cost, but you have to wait a couple turns before you get
Now-
the value back.
There's certain decks though that those are better.
Yeah,
Right.
if you can get rid of the suspend counter.
Right.
Yeah.
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 Get rid of the suspend counters, or there's a commander from Doctor Who actually can cast the cards for their suspend cost.
Well, and my artifact deck. where I put them in the graveyard and then I bring them back from the graveyard.
Yep.
That's easy too.
So I mean,
You're
depending on the
recurring
deck,
them.
there are some decks, but if you're playing those decks, you're probably already playing those cards.
Yeah, one of the other commanders that I play that actually would those suspend cards I wouldn't care about is Obeka, because I get upkeep triggers, and that's an upkeep trigger. Suspend is. So it's like I hit you for 5, all of those come in on this turn.
Yeah.
Because it ticks them down by 5 because I get 5 upkeep triggers. So there are ways to get around those suspend triggers, guys. It's not like you have to, it's in suspend, nothing I can do. No, you can get around them. If you put them in the right decks, like we mentioned, there's right cards that you can use. You can definitely take advantage of them.
It's Azazgear, the Reconstructor.
Yeah, that's the red-white guy, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that guy, all these cards are amazing in there. Right. Then you get
he's an
3
artifact.
of them or 2 of them. Yeah.
Yeah. So I think the next level that we're going to talk about now is going to be, I think filter, right? Is that the best way to describe them? They're the filter artifacts.
It's like the signets.
So your Izzets, your Izzet Signet, your Boros Signet, your Dimmer Signet, all of these they're 2 drops. And then they pay 1, tap it, and then you get 2 colors. So for Izzet, it's blue-red. For Dimmer, it's black-blue, and so on with all of those color combinations. All 10 of them are available. The other ones that I think are really good and are going to be a good substitute is the Talisman cycle.
Yep.
So your Talisman of Curiosity, Talisman of Creativity, all of those. And the reason why I like these ones a little bit more is I think they have a little bit more versatility to them. So they come out for 2, if I remember correctly, and then they tap for either 1 colorless or tap for one of the 2 colors that they are. So I believe the Talisman of Curiosity is blue-red, but when you use it for blue-red, it pings you for 1 life.
Yep.
So
Creativity is blue-red.
Creativity, yep. So Talisman of Creativity and all those other talismans, they give you the color option to pay 1 life, and then you get one of the 2 colors on them, or you don't have to pay any life, and they tap for a colorless. So for only 2 mana, I think the Signet cycle and the Talisman cycle, I think, are great options.
And now we're moving into the area where at 2 you can get into land ramp,
right?
Farseek, all those type of
Sure,
cards.
if you're playing green.
Yeah, if you're playing
like a
green, you
plebe.
could go into land ramp. Yeah, well, green is the best.
I'm just saying, you had all these problems with fast mana when it's coming last episode, but now it's
There's
green.
a big
it's fine.
difference between 2 mana and 0 mana.
Yeah, but you can do that over and over and over and over and over. Anyway, one that I would like to bring up specifically for Jewel Lotus. Now, let's remember, it's not going to be free. It is far from free, but if you have a mana-hungry deck, it's still a viable play. Gilded Lotus. Gilded Lotus costs 5, taps for 3 of any color.
Right.
Yeah, which
And
then you
it
have
doesn't sack.
another card on there
Right.
that you had,
So another one
which
that's
is a 2, taps for 3, I think.
so there's another one too, I think, that you might want to consider, which would be Everflowing Chalice. So it's 0 with the multi-kicker 2, and every time you kick it, you get to put a counter on it, and then you can tap it and add, I believe, colorless. Yep, for each counter that's on it. So that is one that's a good one to use.
The Astral Cornucopia is another one.
Yeah.
I know, Jeff, you play that in Atraxa.
Yeah, because I cheat with it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's XX or is it XXX?
I think it's 2.
So that one is XXX. Well, there's a pyramid that's XXX. Astral Cornucopia, I'll have to look it up.
I think it's XX.
There's also
it's
one
2.
that taps for 1. If you tap it, it puts a counter on itself. And then at your next turn, you get 2 mana because you get that counter plus it taps again.
Yes. Chromatic Orb.
I don't know.
Yeah, might be it. But Thran Dynamo is the other one. So it's a 4-cost artifact. Tap it for 3 colorless.
Good.
So there's also Worn Power Stone. Worn
Right.
Power Stone, you pay 3, comes in tap, but you get 2 mana each time.
Right.
Yeah, so Astral Cornucopia is XXX.
Okay, so it
And
is
then
3X.
it taps for whatever X is. And of course,
In
with
color, though.
Atraxa, we cheat with that.
Yeah, but that's
and then-
in colored mana, though, right? Mm-hmm. So, I mean,
One
that's
color.
one
One
color.
color.
Yeah, but
And
still,
you get to pick it every turn.
a
And
lot
then-
of these options are not colored. So the colored ones are.
Yeah, and then Coalition Relic is a really good one.
That's
It's
the one.
3 mana,
Coalition Relic. Yes.
But what you can do is you can tap it to put that counter on it. So your next turn you get 2 mana with it instead of 1. And so a lot of times that's the nice thing about the treasures is even though they're going to go away, you build up for one big turn. And Coalition Relic kind of helps you do that. But now you're in the 3-cost range. And I don't know that you're really replacing Mana Crypt at this point at the 3-cost range.
So like I said, Gilded Lotus costs 5, but you are replacing getting 3 colored mana. It's not fast necessarily like that, but it gives you the mana you're looking for, because sometimes lands isn't enough. You need to ramp.
In a big mana deck.
In a
yes.
big mana deck.
In a
that's-
big mana deck.
If you're
gonna
playing
need those.
dragons, if you're playing Jingataxius.
You're going to need,
So a 4-drop artifact, which is Stone Speaker Crystal. I want to make sure I said that right. Taps for 2 colorless, pay 2, tap it, sacrifice it, exile any number of target players' graveyards, draw a card. So that one kind of has a second ability on it, which is nice that you can kind of play around with if you care about that.
Yeah,
but
those can be very good, those second abilities.
Yeah.
And there's cards you're going to think about playing now that you didn't think about playing before.
Yeah, absolutely.
Commander Sphere is a card that's readily available. It's relatively cheap. Pay 3, tap it for a mana of any color. That might be your better play sometimes now.
Yeah.
And sack it, draw a card.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and the nice thing now is, guys, because those cards are gone, you're not competing against others with those cards either. So now you can go and look through the other cards and go, hey, what's going to bring me value? What's really going to make my deck better? Now you could put a Commander Sphere in there, because before, if you did that, you were taking out Mana Crypt that everybody else had, or Jeweled Lotus that everybody else had, to put in a lesser card. Now you're not. They don't have it.
Right.
Right. So I think a fun one that I think could be really cool, especially if you have a kind of a dogfight of a game, is Replication Ring. If you guys haven't played this one,
good
Replicating
one.
Ring, I think this card is super fun. It's in my Obeka deck just because I think it's kind of silly. So it's a snow artifact. It's 3. Tap it, add 1 mana of any color. At the beginning of your upkeep, put a night counter on Replicating Ring. Then, if it has 8 or more night counters on it, remove all of them and create 8 colorless snow artifact tokens named Replicated Ring with tap it, add 1 mana of any color. So if you go into enough of a dogfight of a game and it's kind of dragging out and you're in a lot of board wipes and stuff, and you
Or
get
if you're proliferating.
yeah, or if you proliferate it, or you get a bunch of upkeep triggers, you could have 9 mana pop out on one turn at the beginning of your
Which
upkeep.
might be a good replacement for like Dockside.
Right. I mean, that is a good replacement to do that. This is in my Obeka deck because of my upkeep triggers, and I get to take them away. So I definitely think that is
So
yeah.
I'm
just
going
showing
to
you guys because it has a red symbol next to my Mana Crypt on Mox Field for my deck, because it's like you can't have this card in there.
yeah.
Yeah, my Architect, when I was on there because of my CDH Kess deck, it is proxied, so I had a big old red alert on it. And
Yeah, I
opened
have
it up
not
and-
gone and updated those yet. So I'm going to talk about a controversial one, and I'm sure you're both going to disagree with me. But again, in big mana decks, I would replace Mana Crypt with Temple of the False God.
Yeah, that works.
Actually, I think that's a great idea. I actually think that a better way sometimes to replace Mana Crypt might be just put an extra land in.
Right.
And so if
Looking
you could
at
do
you, Wizard.
Ancient Tomb, or
Yeah,
Maybe
Ancient
the
Tomb is a
Temple-
turn 1 extra mana. Does 2 damage to each time you tap it, but it taps for 2 colorless. It's not cheap.
don't go buy it. 'Cause there's-
I
you know,
don't think they're going
now
to
we
ban
don't know
that.
what's going to happen.
I don't, but again, at your own risk.
I
But
mean,
I don't.
it's in the realm, right?
Yeah. I don't think they're going to ban it. I don't think, because it hurts
know.
2
I hope
every
not.
single time you tap it. That wears on you over the course of a game.
yeah.
Yeah, because unlike Mana
Crypt, you had to-
Crypt, where there's a chance you didn't get the 3, this you're guaranteed to get the 2.
Yes.
I would guarantee that if they're going to go after lands, if they're going to pick one, they better do Gaia's Cradle first. 'Cause that is way more powerful than Ancient
The
Tomb.
thing is, they've
way more powerful.
done Gaia's Cradle.
So
They put it on the reserve list, so that sort of took it out of most people's decks. Like, when was the last time you saw it?
I'm just saying
Probably
it's
playing
legal.
me.
Yeah.
That's
Well,
probably the.
I think some other fun ways to replace some of this mana stuff that you're missing is going to be with cards that maybe are potentially more situational good based off the deck. So, for example, Relic of Legends. It's a 3-cost artifact. It taps for 1 mana of any color, or tap an untapped legendary creature you control, add 1 mana of any color. So if you have those decks where, like, for example, your commander you're not attacking with and he's just staying there, you can cast this, and now you technically have 2 mana. And the nice thing is, too, because this forces that creature to tap, it doesn't have to have haste. The turn you drop that creature, if it's legendary, you can immediately tap it because this is forcing it to tap. So that's a cool way to use that. The other one that's similar doesn't have as much of a caveat to it, but it also is a little less powerful because you have to tap this in order to do it, is Springleaf Drum. It's a 1-drop. tap it, tap an untapped creature you control, add 1 mana of any color.
And that is a force tap, so haste doesn't matter.
Again, same thing.
Summoning
Yeah,
Sickness,
force
you
tap
can still
again.
force tap 'em.
You can still force tap them. So those are ones that if you have decks where the creatures are there just to do one thing, like an ETB or a death trigger, and you don't care about them being tapped or untapped because you're not really going to attack with them anyways, that is a good way to utilize those creatures now for mana instead.
Right.
You know, especially when you're talking about token decks, you know, you have like these little 1/1 dorks that you might create or whatever. This is a great way just to tap this, tap that little 1/1 dork. Boom, I got a mana now out of it.
Other thing you're going to want to look at, go into your shop, your local shop, go through their bulk artifacts, right? Look for them 3-drop mana rocks. There are some really, and it's all kind of going to depend on what deck you're playing. There's some really decent 3-drop mana rocks.
Right.
Magnifying Glass is one. You pay 3 to bring it out, but you can tap it for a mana. Or I think you pay 4 and tap it. You can investigate, right? So you can get some draw out of it. There's ones that have proliferate. There's ones that do other things that may have synergy with your deck. There's a lot of 3-drop mana rocks that you get mana plus something.
Yeah, Letter of Acceptance is a new one that came out more recently. I think that's from the
Strixhaven.
Yeah.
There's also
Strixhaven.
stuff like Thematic Compass, where it comes out as 2. Once you have 7 lands, it turns into a land itself, which has different abilities.
Yep.
There's also a equipment that turns into a land that taps for 3, I believe. I'm trying to think of what the name of it is. So,
But there's you're also, so because of losing Jewel Lotus, one of the things people are saying, well, so that helps with your color fixing, right? If you have a 3-color commander, maybe you didn't hit that 3rd color.
Yeah,
but that helped you get that 3rd color, right?
Yeah.
Well, think about things you can play. City of Brass, right? It's another one of those things that can tap for a mana of any color.
Yeah, pings you want.
Absolutely.
Every
Pings you
time you
want.
tap it,
but you're not always going to get your command tower. This is an alternative, right?
Yeah, and the other thing too that is kind of again another silver lining if you want to look at this is a lot of times, unless you're playing with just a group of degenerates, no one's really doing land destruction. That's not really a theme that most people run or try to run, or even as a sub. I haven't seen an actual land destruction deck in I don't know how long. So a lot of times replacing some of these cards with lands, you're probably guaranteed to have them actually on the field longer too. Because I do know that there are I think it's Farewell, right? Where you can exile all artifacts, exile all enchantment, exile all creatures.
reset the game.
Yep. Doesn't exile lands though.
Yeah.
It doesn't. You can't touch lands. So, you know, being able to substitute some of these things in for land might be a better way. And I do think, and I'm actually curious, I don't know if you asked Lizard this yet or not. I definitely think you should though. Does he actually think that Temple of the False God might actually be a good card now that
No,
lost
he
Mana
still
Crypt?
does not.
He still doesn't. That's
He
so
still
great.
will rip them up or burn them.
So
once
building on that, what I talked about, the Thematic Compass 2, and then it becomes a land. There's also Treasure Map, which is very good. I'm
Oh
sure a
yeah,
lot of
Treasure
you've
Map
played
is one that goes way under the radar, and I think because you
then-
have the price up. Hold on, I want to point it out. 7 cents, I think I saw it for Treasure Map.
Yep.
Yeah,
sense.
7 cents.
And then another one that's really good is Dousing Dagger.
So,
And again, 2 cost, it's going to turn into a pretty good land.
Right.
So for those more common non-green players that actually have good self-esteem, play Wayfarer's Bauble. Pay 1, pay 2, sack it, go get 2 lands
Right.
or a land. I think.
Alien.
A land. Burnished Heart is the one I'm thinking of. Drops for 3, pay 3. It is not a tap ability, so haste does not affect. Then you go get 2 lands, put them into play.
This is another way where you can start being really smart about the way you do things. Like play the lands Thespian Stage, and there's another one, come in and copy other lands.
Yep.
Because what some people are going to do is they're going to play those cards you're talking about, the Ancient Tomb or the other thing, or even Gaia's Cradle, and then just copy it. So just put a land in to copy their land and if they do Dousing Dagger, they flip it, they get a land that taps for 3. Now you don't have to pay 2 for that.
So
You just go ahead and put your land in that copies it, and now yours taps for 3.
being the blue player, I have to bring up, if you're playing blue, play the spell copy land.
It's a great one, yeah.
Because
Great
that is
one.
ramp right there. Even if you're only copying an island, you just ramped an island.
Right,
You know what I mean? Blue does not have ramp. That is a way to do it.
right.
There is also one of the commies that actually you pay 1 and put up to 2 lands into play.
One
Now,
of the what?
commies. It's one of the KAMI.
Okay. Oh,
Yes.
okay.
Kami.
I was talking about Russians or something. I was like,
But you pay 1 and you can put up to 2 lands into play. That's also another good way for blue to ramp. But there's a lot of artifacts. You know what's harder to replace? Dockside.
Yeah.
Well,
so,
again, that Dowsing Dagger does not get enough love. Pay 2, get 3.
Yeah, I hear you.
Yeah.
But let's talk about Dockside, right? You used to be able to get a ton of treasures. Let's pretend you're playing mono red. Let's start there. Mono red, my suggestion, play the sticker goblin.
Oh, the one from the unset?
The one from the unset.
Okay.
Cheap card. You have to have a sticker deck. You can have up to 15 of the sticker cards. You have to have them a separate deck. You shovel them up, have a player pick 3 at random before the game. When you play the goblin, you can choose one of the 3 cards they chose to put down. And for each unique vowel, you gain a red mana.
Yeah. The other thing is add a different color to your deck. Stop playing mono red.
Well,
that's
I'm
my
just
other
saying,
suggestion.
we have to pretend because
I
we're
know,
trying to replace
I know,
a red
I'm
card.
kidding.
You can't be like, you know how you place a red card? Don't play red.
Yeah.
How about that?
Well, I'm not saying don't play red. I'm saying just play another color with red.
The other thing
There's a difference.
the other thing you could do too is what we're talking about is, okay, I can't go as fast. But if I'm in a race, I could just talk about making myself faster. I could also talk about slowing the other guy down. Now, I'm not suggesting we do stacks. What I'm suggesting, though, is you maybe play more removal. Whether that's board wipes at target artifacts, whether that's single target removal to slow them down, whatever it is, you don't have to speed yourself up. You can slow the other guy down.
Yeah, Vandal
Don't
Blast.
forget that. And
Yeah, it's
yes,
called stacks.
Well, you could
Vandal
do that
Blast,
too.
4 in a red. Destroy all artifacts your opponents control.
Yeah, that's a great card.
Blasphemous Act, 8 in a red. Just 13 damage to each
Okay,
creature.
but I have some other suggestions, right? Bucknard's Everfull Purse. Ever heard of it?
Nope.
No.
It's a D&D item, actually. It's a magic item in D&D, and it came out in the Baldur's Gate or the Forgotten Realms. I can't remember which, but you pay 2. It's an artifact. You can pay 1, tap it, roll a d4, create a number of treasure tokens equal to the result. The player to your right gains control of Bucknard's Everfull Purse. So you could get 4 mana. I mean, that's a Dockside.
Ruby medallion.
All the medallions, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, all the medallions are good too.
Pay
Specifically
2,
Ruben.
and whatever color it is, it reduces your colorless mana you
Jessica's
pay
Will.
Jessica's Will was the other one I was going to mention in red that can help.
There's a card that I play in my Prosper deck that I had never seen before, and then I found it, and I was like, "Oh, this is silly."
So you discovered it.
Crime
By White History, you discovered that card.
Oh, nice. Crime. No. Oh my gosh. I just heard what you said, and it just hit me.
Wow.
That's how slow his brain works.
I was so focused on trying to get my sentence out. Like I heard what you said, and we're talking about magic, so I thought you meant like Magic White, and then it hit me. Okay, anyways, so crime novelist.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know what he does? He's a silly little card. Whenever you sacrifice a permanent, I believe it's add 1 red mana. So your treasures
Pretty
technically
good.
are tapping for 2.
Yeah.
Another one, Bergie.
Yep. Bergie's
Whenever you
That's a good
cast
one.
a spell, you get to add red mana.
Urbrask. Whenever you cast an instant or sorcery, you deal 1 damage to somebody and create a red mana.
Mana Geyser, Seething Song.
Yeah, Mana Geyser, Seething Song, and what's the other? There's another red one that does the same thing as Seething Song.
Mana Flare.
Might be, maybe. I can't remember. It's something very similar to Seething Song, though.
Oh, no. There's Vessel of Volatility.
I don't know what that
Mana
one does.
Geyser and Seething Song are the top 2.
Yeah, Mana Geyser by far
get
is
big
probably.
Yeah, Mana Geyser is fantastic.
It
Now,
is-
it costs, what, 5?
Yeah, but
It
you
costs
get-
5, but you could get 15.
That's probably that might be the best substitute for Dockside.
And Mana Geyser is not that bad. I mean, I think it's actually in precons.
I think the Goblin's very viable. I mean, it costs 3, and you can get, there's 5 vowels. There are cards that have 5
Yeah.
on them. Lizard plays it a lot. He often gets at least 4.
Yeah, and one the other thing is too, guys, if you're worried about like how do I get like let's say
Mana
I have
Flare
some
is
stuff,
the other one that
Mana
does
Flare?
2 mana when you tap a land.
Okay. So the other thing to think about too is like let's say hey, I have a decent way to like kind of a good way to create treasures. Like how do I get more treasures if that's what you're trying to go for? We mentioned in the last episode Zorn. Whenever you create a treasure, you get to create an additional one. And then Academy Manufacturer. Whenever you create a treasure, clue, or food, you create one of each instead. So that way you're just busting out all kinds of things. And then the creme de la creme, rather, when it comes to getting value out of these artifacts that you're now creating is, oh my goodness, I just had it. It's the artifact that says your other artifacts have, what's it called?
Improvise.
Yeah, they can tap for colorless. So what you can do is instead of having to sack your treasures, they now tap for colorless to help cast spells that you're casting from your hand. I can't remember what it's called.
You can think outside the box and not create more mana, but just create more value. So Pyromancer's Goggles in red. Add red when that mana is spent to cast a red instant or sorcery spell. Copy that spell. You may choose new targets. Well, if you're copying a spell that costs 5, 6, 7, 8, you essentially created 5, 6, 7, 8 mana by simply using this.
How about Treasure Nabber?
Treasure Nabber's a good one.
Treasure Nabber's great.
That's good. Go get their artifacts.
Dude, that is one that I did not know existed, and when I found it, I was like, "This is such
You discovered that one too?
Yeah, it's such
Johnny
a cheeky,
discovered Treasure Nabber.
It is such
This
a
is now
cheeky
in.
card.
Another
Treasure
one's-
Nabber costs 3 mana. Whenever an opponent taps an artifact for mana, you gain control of that artifact till the end of your next turn.
Yeah.
Oh, it's so great.
So it untaps on your turn, you use it.
I think we're missing these ones too, which are the diamonds, the fire diamond, all the
Yeah,
diamonds. They come in tapped, but typically on turn 2, isn't necessarily going to kill you.
And if you drop a Soul Ring, if we're talking about trying to replace Mana Crypt and all that stuff, you might have played Mana Crypt with a Soul Ring on turn 1. Now you play that with Soul Ring on turn 1, you have it for turn 2.
Yeah, exactly.
You know? Gauntlet of Power. So 5-drop, but you choose a color. All creatures of that color get +1/+1 whenever basically untap for mana of the chosen color. Its controller adds that color again, basically.
Throne of Eldraine, have we talked about that one yet?
No, that's a great one.
As Throne of Eldraine enters a battlefield, choose a color. Add 4 mana of the chosen color. Spend this mana only to cast mono-colored spells of that color. And then
Johnny.
you could also pay 3 and
And how much does that cost, by the way?
5 mana.
Pay 3 and draw a card, right?
Yeah.
Using only mana of that color.
Yes.
Hit
It is
the mother.
$23. Though.
Hit the mother load.
Now, again, we said this last episode, and I pointed out, cost 10 mana.
7.
7 mana.
7 mana.
If you're already there,
You're already
but this is
winning.
if you're just
Yeah.
going to be gross.
You're just winning more.
So this is Discover 10. And then if the discovered card's mana value is less than 10, create a number of tapped treasure tokens equal to the difference.
right, so you're guaranteed to get your value,
Right.
which is nice because if you pay, how much was it? 7?
7 mana.
If you pay 7 and get a 1-drop, you still get mana at least.
Right.
But do they come in tapped?
Yeah, they do come in tapped.
Okay, so
So it keeps you from slowing down. I mean, I know we
again,
talked about this last episode. That's one way to slow down Dockside.
again,
Make them have all the treasures come in tapped.
Now, you know
is-
how you really slow them down?
Ban them.
ban.
Yeah, ban them.
So it was too soon. So one of the things that's really cool we got to talk about here, we're doing all this because they ban cards.
Right.
Sometimes these bad things that happen open up creativity. Rules, some people think rules stagger creativity. They don't. They open up creativity because when you have to respond within a rule system, you have to start thinking more.
That's
which
why
is
we did
all
the
we're doing.
$25 dollar
Yeah.
deck.
And that was
My
great.
words are coming out backwards. Yoda, I become, yes.
Yeah. Well,
The power strong with you it is. No, yes, the words are not. So, yeah, no, that's when we did our $25 builds. We found stuff. We're like, wow,
Right.
I still use some stuff I found when we
Right.
did that.
I mean, and that's the thing that, like Jeff's saying, is again a blessing in disguise. We know a lot of people are still upset because they feel like they lost a lot of value, and we understand that. But what we're saying is, one of the things that this is going to open up is this is going to allow people to play cards potentially or find cards that they would have never thought of playing before. They would have never even considered putting in because Jeweled Lotus and Mana Crypt existed and Dockside existed. Because those cards were options, there wasn't any other reason to pick something else. Now, they're not options. There is a reason to pick something else.
Right.
And this is going to allow some of your players to find that. And I do hope that if you find anything that's crazy off the wall and you're like, oh my goodness, you guys look at this one, please send it to us. We'd be more than happy to see what you guys come up with and how you guys are going to adjust to these changes.
So there's another thing, again, before it wasn't that valuable. Have you heard of mana batteries? There's a mana battery for each card, blue mana battery, white mana battery. And it's an artifact you drop out and you store mana on it until you want to use it.
that was like Coalition Relic, but you only store 1. Yeah.
Yeah, but this one you just keep going.
Yeah. They have lands that do that too.
Yep. Professional Face Breaker
Oh,
is
great
another
one.
one in red.
Yeah.
Anytime a creature you control deals damage to a player, combat damage, create a treasure token.
There's actually a card that I love that doesn't get enough love, and I think maybe it will now, and that's Cursed Mirror.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah. No, I
Yeah,
love
because
Cursed
Cursed
Mirror.
Mirror taps for
good.
1 red, but it also, as it enters the battlefield, you may have it become a copy of any creature on the battlefield until the end of turn, except it has haste.
Right.
It's
Now,
such
if you
a
do
red
that,
thing
you have
to do.
now lost the ability for that turn to tap it for mana.
Right,
Unless
right.
the creature you...
Yeah, but hopefully whatever you're taking is going to do its
Yeah.
work.
Yep.
Right.
Ragavan. Ragavan, you can dash
Yeah.
him out for 2. Hit somebody. He has haste.
Nice
Get a treasure. Exile the top card of the library. You may play it this turn. If you dash him, he comes back to your hand. If you cast him, he only costs 1 red
And
mana.
he's very expensive too.
He is. But if we're talking about replacement for Dockside,
He's less expensive
Yeah.
than the other cards.
Yeah. I mean, he's about the same cost as Dockside was. Dockside was sitting around like
Is
what,
he
60?
still?
So-
I
Yeah,
don't
he
know
sits
if
around
is
50, he
anymore.
sits around 50 to 60.
here's
maybe 50
a
to
controversial one.
That's what Dockside usually sat around too, though.
Treasure
I thought
Horde
Dockside
Dragon.
went up to $90.
No, they had the alternate art one that was like $90, $100. But
He
the
was
regular,
still like 80, I think.
I
no,
think
the
he-
regular
I
one was he was 60. I looked it up because I was going to buy it from Dave.
Okay.
Yeah, it was like 60 for the regular version.
All right. Cavern Horde Dragon. Now this goes with Johnny's
your mouth.
Motherload. What was it
Hit the
called?
Motherload.
Hit the Motherload. Cavern Horde
Hit your
Dragon
mother.
costs 7
Don't hit your mother.
and 2 red. That's a lot of mana. However,
Hide your wives, hide your sisters.
okay. Are we back in Thunder Junction? Is that what just happened? Cavern Horde Dragon costs 9, 7 and 2 red, but he costs X less, where X is the greatest number of artifacts an opponent controls.
Ooh, that's gross.
Right?
That's
So
gross.
if you have somebody who's got all these rocks, who maybe made a bunch of treasures,
Sure.
and he
So
has
essentially
flying,
that's
trample,
like Grant.
and haste. He is a 6/6, and when he deals combat damage to a player, you create a number of treasures equal to the number of artifacts that player controls.
And you notice what's
Wow.
happening here. What we're getting into is if you want to do what Dockside did, you got to spend 5, 6, 7 mana.
yeah,
That might be why he was a
Well,
problem.
I mean, maybe,
That might be
if somebody
why he
else
was a
did it
problem.
first, then they had 7 artifacts. This only costs 2 red.
Yeah.
That's the same as Dockside.
Yeah.
That's true. And then you hit
No,
them,
but
and
after you
get
take
7.
the discount for the
Yeah,
mana you got.
yeah, because
that
they
would-
did
why
that
would-
already.
In that
Why
case,
would you-
Dockside costs -7.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but then you also get more treasures when you hit them in the face. And then
Yeah.
those 7 artifacts they have, you make 7 more treasures.
Right.
So you gained 7 mana.
Yeah, there are good cards out there.
I mean,
But they
let's,
cost more
what's
mana.
that card again?
pretend they had 3
3 what?
artifacts.
Yeah.
Okay. You hit, so you only pay 6, 4 and 2 red, and you hit them and you make 3 treasures.
I mean, I don't pay 6. I only pay 5 because I use Eminence and cheat.
Oh,
Oh my gosh. Don't even get me started on that stupid
yeah,
card.
Dragon. That's true too. Play some creatures that reduce your cost.
Yeah, I mean, one
Yeah.
is the Goblin Aeromancer, I think he is, reduces all red and green spells by 1.
Yep.
Also, you could just make your spells better. There's tons of things that do more damage.
You could just be better.
Yes.
Those
Well,
are both true.
you guys can't, but others could. You out there could be better.
What he's saying is because we're already the best.
That
we
is,
can't be better.
that's exactly
I mean,
what he
that's
meant.
definitely what I was saying.
Yeah. I play a ton of stuff in my blue decks that reduce instants and sorceries by 1.
Right. I mean, I guess that's another thing that we can talk about. So besides trying to replace these cards with things that are going to produce mana, there are things that you can replace these cards that are going to reduce costs instead.
Right.
So there is a whole slew of cards out there, from artifacts to enchantments to creatures. There's so many different things. There is, I think, there's a companion, the creature, I think he's a black and green one, that says choose a card type. All cards of that type you cast are reduced by 1. So you can, whenever you want to play him, I think he's black green, you just pick whatever one you feel like that game, and it just reduces
Yeah.
all of those by that.
There's
you
an
know?
artifact that does that too.
Right.
You could also just lower your curve.
So
Like,
You could just also lower your expectations.
yeah, no, that's true on both those things. One, you could lower your curve so you don't need to spend as much mana. And then 2, you could lower your expectation, which means, hey, where before you were casting that on turn 2 or 3, now you're casting it on turn 4 or 5.
Right.
You're not going to die because guess what? Everybody else is doing that too.
right. The whole entire game has been slowed.
And maybe don't run out there to race to get to fast mana. Maybe just put more synergy in your deck.
Or if you do it, don't let the rules committee see you. Just look at you guys.
Don't
that
play
caused
these
it.
things
Whoever
against
played
them.
against them, this
Yeah.
is your fault.
No, it's
No,
Duncan's
it's your fault,
It's
Duncan.
Duncan's fault. He called him useless.
Yes.
We're gonna hold on to that. That's
Said
gonna be
they'll
our next
never do
t-shirt.
anything, and they never will. I think in that podcast specifically, you said they'll never do it.
Yeah,
Yep.
they'll never do it.
In
They ain't
regards
got
to
the
Joel Lotus.
cojones.
And
then
then,
they
then
did
the
it back
biggest ban in Magic history.
Yeah.
In Magic history, not just Commander, Magic history.
Yeah.
Was
No,
perpetrated.
We're aware.
Yeah,
You
Thanos might have been a destroyer of worlds, but you're the destroyer of magic.
I am.
very proud of it. Ouch.
Wow.
Okay.
So, but yeah,
On
there,
that
so
note-
there are a lot of different things you can do. Basically, is what we're saying. Just because you feel like the world is coming to an end, how am I supposed to get my 8-cost commander out on turn 1 now or turn 2? Woe is me. Calm down. Everyone got slowed down. You're not the only person who's not allowed to play with these cards
Right.
in an EDH legal way. No one can. So everyone got slowed down. So don't feel like it's just you. I do feel like, though, since we're kind of coming to a close with our substitutions, I think I'm going to kind of break the seal on this conversation just because I think it's pretty relevant.
Typically, bad things happen when you break seals.
This
Only the
might,
7th one.
This
Okay.
might be the tipping point for people who have been arguing for a separate ban list for CEDH.
Oh gosh, don't get us into this again.
I'm only going to bring it up.
Nope. So actually, this is something I wanted to bring up last episode, but we
We ran out of
low.
time. I think personally, and I'm only going to say this on the matter, and then if we want to continue, we can. But if we want to move on, we can.
No, I want to talk about this.
I think this is a prime example of why we need to have 2 different ban lists. I think in casual
we don't
play,
disagree with that.
I think
don't
in
think anyone at
casual
this table
play,
disagrees.
well, but for so long, the bans that they were doing really didn't justify it. I would say until now. Now it's been justified. Like
So
those cards are specifically CEDH level cards. We need to have different ban lists. Those players who want to go to tournaments and play in a competitive scene, that game should not be affected by these bans. The casual play for the people who are just going to their shops to have a good time with people, completely agree. I do think so. But I think for the CEDH scene, that this was bad for that scene. This
I
is
agree.
not good. So on that matter, I do think that what they did, if you're going to petition anything, I think the thing that you should petition for is a separate ban list for CEDH and EDH.
So
That's my opinion.
I think that's in the works. And no, not the rules committee we talked about before. I'm going to call their shot. This is not my shot, so I can't call my shot.
Oh
I'm
my
going to call
gosh,
their
now
shot.
it's not going to happen.
So I think that the rules committee is going to hand CEDH over to Wizards of the Coast to manage.
Because tournaments can actually been done with CDH.
Yes.
and
Which is
they
the
can-
appropriate place for it.
Right,
and,
and that's
and
where you're
I
gonna
have
want it.
proof.
Okay.
Oh,
I have proof.
Ooh, breaking news.
Okay, so
We'll be the judge of this.
when
proof.
there were
Okay.
death threats made against Olivia from the rules committee, and they said Olivia was the one of the voices who they said, we're not going to tell you anybody else, but Olivia was one of the ones who said we should be not doing this.
Right.
They said her preferred course of action was to ban Nadu Dockside, and here's where my proof comes in. Then wait for the tools we're currently developing in cooperation with Wizards that will hopefully make it easier for people to find like-minded folks to play with and reassess on the other cards afterwards. I'm paraphrasing that last part because they said MC/JL afterwards.
How does that mean they're making?
I
another-
think the tools they are working on is handing CEDH over to Wizards of the Coast.
I mean, yeah,
I don't
could,
know if I'd call that proof, but it's something.
Well, I mean, I guess because the two that they banned, that she said they wanted to ban, which was Nadu and Dockside, were, to your point from last episode, Dockside, in your opinion, is the worst person of the 3 in regards to this ends game.
Yeah, the biggest culprit.
Yeah, the biggest culprit, right? So I think what she's, and again, Duncan's reading into it a little bit to kind of sift through the sand, as it were, to figure out what she really means.
I'm doing the investigating so you don't have to.
What a guy. This is like Anchorman 2 where they just start making things up on the
Yes.
on the show.
Yes.
I'm hearing now that it's a 6'8" man who is carrying a puppy in his left arm. Is that true?
I hear
No.
specifically they're handing it off to a guy named Raul.
Yeah, Rahul. But yeah, I do think if you try to read into that a little bit and you try to sift through the sand, I do think that's possibly what she might be saying. She might be saying, listen, we are trying to potentially form a separate ban list or entity
We're
that's
trying
going
to
to
put
take
your
care of that?
degenerates in a camp
I think-
where you can all play together.
Well,
I think she was just trying to say that they are going to bring out tools that say, create the rules you want to play with and go play with these people. I think that's all they were going to do.
I don't think so because that already exists. They don't need Wizards of the
people
Coast
don't know
to do
how
that.
to. So for us, it's easy, right? But the reality is, for a lot of people, it's not easy.
I mean,
It's not easy for them to go find a group to play with.
I mean, I don't.
I mean, look at Jeff. He never plays.
That's true.
I mean, I wouldn't say that. I think with the verbiage that she said it and how she said it, I think the reason why that would make sense for Wizards to control CEDH is because that's where they're going to make money when they make these cards.
Well, the wonderful thing we have is a little bit of time, and we'll find out because they're making the tools.
Hey, we ain't promised tomorrow.
So when
we
they
might not have time.
release them, we'll know. Until then, we're just
Release the
speculating.
tools.
Yeah.
Golly dang. So downhill.
So says the fools.
Yeah, right. So, but I mean, maybe they will produce a CEDH ban list in EDH, and then we'll see some of these things get unbanned for CEDH.
Well, what people need to prepare
So-
for is we talked about it in the episode, we talked about this last time. If they create a separate group that makes rules for CEDH, the bannings in EDH are going to go up. Like, I would say
Yeah,
a
I
decent
think-
amount of the cards we just talked about at the beginning, the zero cost cards.
Maybe
Goodbye.
not. But what I do think is Sasha's Oracle. And so let's
Yep,
do this now
things
because
like
this
that.
is something that I
Yep.
wanted to do in this episode. I
Okay.
mentioned it last episode. Let's talk about what should be banned in EDH. Okay. Now, I think we need to look at this from the viewpoint that they have made it very clear that they do not want fast games. So I think we are separating CEDH from EDH for this conversation.
Okay.
We are not considering CEDH when we say this.
Who's the new demon they just created? The 6-pip one. They're
Oh,
probably
I
gonna
just
ban-
got him.
Yeah, they're
I just
probably-
got him,
they're
baby.
probably gonna ban that
He's
guy.
only $1. Go get him.
Ban
Go
that guy
get
so
him.
fast.
Buy him up.
You talking about making a game fast? Here's your 99 card library. No, it's 6 cards.
Yeah.
The best part about that card, by the way, I need to bring this up because reading it the first time, like I didn't grasp it. You know what the absolute best part about that card is? They're exiled face down. You don't even know what you lost. You're
Yeah.
not allowed to look. So they are exiled face
So this
down.
card, 6 black
Oh my
pips.
gosh, it's such a
It's
troll.
a demon. When it comes into play, exile each player's library except the bottom 6 cards.
And then it says you draw at the beginning of your upkeep, you draw a card. So you have to draw 2 cards,
Yeah.
whoever casts them.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, talk about speeding up a game. Holy cows. That propels it into the end
Yep.
game.
Oh,
real
I'm
quick.
building him.
Oh, dude, that's so funny. He's not even legendary.
He's
though.
not, but he's going in the deck,
Oh,
and
yeah.
it's going to happen.
Yeah, of course. You're a degenerate. You're
I'm
a
gonna-
mono blue player.
I might put him in
Oh,
crit.
so you're asking which ones we'd ban?
Yeah.
Stasis, Winter Orb,
Yeah. All those ones, I mean,
So Static Orb.
yeah.
Armageddon, Thassa's Oracle.
I mean, you're going to pick Armageddon and not the other 30 mass land destruction cards.
That's the problem. So you can't, like, if you do that, then you got to hit all the mass land destruction. And, like,
Sure.
that's the thing that's hard about.
Casualties
When
of
you
War,
think-
I think, is the other one that's exactly the same cost. It's 4 mana and white and destroys all lands.
Yeah. I
Let's,
think that's.
Oh my gosh, I'm gonna get death threats. The reserve list, don't love it. Don't love the reserve list in Magic, to be honest with you. Johnny, you talked about it last time we recorded. You said it's not fair when people have a $200 card and someone else doesn't.
Right.
Why is it okay? What is this? The Pendle Veil or whatever this ridiculous card is? Tabernacle of Pendervale, $3,200. That's not right. That's not okay.
Yeah, but listen, what does it do?
All creatures now require an upkeep cost of 1 in addition to any other upkeep costs they may have. If the upkeep cost for a creature is not paid, destroy that creature.
Yeah.
That
So the
is
Reese
not
player
right.
doesn't like it.
Yeah, no.
I mean, no
it's
one
not,
likes
that's,
that card.
No one.
That's
That's,
a
not an
gross
okay
card.
card.
So
oh my gosh,
I would be okay if they made a form of Commander where they said no cards that cost over $25. That
I
would
don't know.
force
I don't
Wizards
I don't need that.
to
but-
print stuff.
Well, I mean, and here's the thing though too. Like, I think part of the reason, again, I said it in the last episode that these cards might have been targeted more specifically is because they are extremely expensive cards. So not only is it fast mana, but it's fast mana cards that people don't have access to easily because they're hard to get and own and
Right.
find, and it's just
Well,
it's
I
expensive.
don't think that had much to fit into their reasoning.
I mean,
I think that's the only reason Soul Ring wasn't, is because it's so prevalent and in all the commander decks.
I think because it's a facet of EDH. It has been from the beginning.
right, and that's
So
what,
was
that's
Mana
what,
Crypt.
That's what they said, but at the same token, the difference between it and Mana Crypt. It's a $1 card compared to a $200 card. That's the biggest factor in my mind for why it should have been banned. But regardless of all that, I mean, there's a lot of cards that I can see if we split the ban list, right? We do a CEDH and we do an EDH. Like if they want to slow down games, like they said in that article, if you haven't read it yet, please do. Their point is that they want games to be more of kind of these slugfests. Again, summarizing, they don't want people to be able to end games by turn 2 and 3. Like that's not what they want. That's
basically saying we don't want CEDH.
Kind of. And
Right.
with that is why the importance of having a CEDH ban list needs to exist with these bans specifically. I think that shows even more and kind of drew the line in the
I know
sand.
one I think you want banned.
What?
Roaming Throne.
Yeah, I think that's a horrible card. That card is
Nailed it.
ridiculous.
Nailed it. Did you
It's
see him?
Not
Like,
even that good.
Yeah, it is. It is a
It's
fan.
very-
It is
it
a
is very
stupid
good.
card.
It's not as good as getting banned.
It should. If you're
I mean,
talking about
it's
cards
pretty
that
good.
should be banned in casual EDH play, you cannot look me in the face and say, no, a card that literally doubles any trigger of any creature type that you name, it can go
Well, I
in
can
any
do
type
it.
of deck.
Roaming Throne should not be banned.
That's absolutely ridiculous. You are a silly person if you think that.
I think that.
You do not understand logic at all then. Because with you wanting to ban some of those other cards that you mentioned, but not ban Roaming Throne, that is absurd.
Okay, that's your opinion, but these cards
No,
I
that
think
is a
change
fact.
the way the game works.
So does Roaming Throne. Roaming Throne literally ends games. We watched it end the game at your house when your son played it. He literally ended the game. The turn he put that card out, he ended the game.
I just disagree. I don't think it's ban worthy.
It absolutely is. Especially
Junkin,
because
do you think it's ban worthy?
because it's
I think it's on the fence.
I think
I see it
because-
played enough and I play it enough and it is gross. It
because
is so
of the
gross.
fact that it is colorless, and all you have to do is, even if it's only there for your commander, if I put Roaming Throne in and Prosper only for Prosper, it is gross. It
Well,
is absolutely gross. There's me doubling my mana for no reason except for this card is on the field. Is gross.
Let's take a little
Let's
side trip.
see its salt score. Salt score. Shouldn't that be on every card? Where is it on here?
I don't know.
Are you
So-
on EDH?
Yeah.
EDH rack. So I mean, Roaming Throne is one for casual play.
Let's
I definitely think
play
it
a
should be
little
banned.
game here. I am on randomcommander.com. I'm going to hit a commander. Let's see if it breaks it.
Sure.
Far Traveler. That's a background. That's cheap.
It's a background.
Iroas, God of Victory. Creatures you control have menace. Prevent all damage. Nope. Doesn't break it. Let's try one more. Kathofed Soul Hoarder. This one, whenever a permanent owned by another player put into a graveyard from the battlefield, you draw a card and you lose 1 life. So now you draw 2 cards, you lose 2 life.
Yeah, I'm 100% okay with giving up 2 life for 2
Yeah,
cards.
no, I mean, it doubles the value. I don't know if it breaks everything, but
My point is
there are enough of them. I think it breaks that it's worth a conversation.
that card can
I don't know
ends games. If it's played at the right time, it will end a game.
How about Natraxa?
There is
Jeff, what about Natraxa? How much value do you think Roaming Throne
Yeah,
would
it
have?
gets lots of value, but I'm looking here at the salt score, guys, and I mean, it could be your opinion, and that's okay. Opinion is fine, but it's I haven't even got to it yet. I'm scrolling through pages of cards here. Like,
well.
it's not on here. Other people do not agree that this is a.
Who makes that?
Well,
though?
I don't think
Who-
Mana Crypt was on there.
Yeah, Mana Crypt wasn't on there. No one would have put Mana Crypt at the top of that list for Salt, but it got banned.
Right. No, but I'm not saying. We're saying what should be banned.
Right.
So,
In EDH, in regular
yeah,
casual
it's not
play,
even on the first page.
Roaming Throne should be banned.
Let's see
That
if it's on
card
the
is
second
that
page.
card is way too powerful to be in casual play.
Well,
My
let's
turn.
move on.
It's
I
my turn.
disagree.
It's my
Yeah.
turn.
Yeah.
Every extra turn spell, except the ones that say at the end of this turn you end the turn. I'm okay with those.
Really?
mean
You would
you
just
lose
get
the
rid of
game?
all the extra turns? They're
Yeah.
that bad?
Yeah, or make it so that only one can be played a game. You can only get 1 extra turn a game. There's some though that say target player takes 2 extra turns after this.
Well, see, that's why I wouldn't get rid of cards that like say you can't take extra turns because those cards are really good.
They
Stack
are,
that-
but I don't
stick
want to
that
have
on
to.
more cards.
I don't have to stick that in my deck because you're a degenerate.
Right.
I mean, isn't that why like you make counterspell decks though, because other people are doing
Because I
out of-
very much enjoy.
So out of all the cards, you would be extra turns.
yeah, that's my
and you'd be
biggest one.
roaming throne.
Well,
Yep.
no, that's just. I mean, that's one of them. There's
But
a lot
I
of
mean, I
cards that
agree
should
with
be
you that
banned in
Thassa's
casual.
Oracle is a big one.
Thassa's Oracle is a horrible card to have in casual. Like it is a game ending card.
Because
of
Lion's Eye
Demonic
Diamond, I think, should be banned because it's
I mean,
only
they can't
in
even figure out how to play that card or
yeah,
get the rules to work.
But it should
for,
be
so who
banned
cares?
because it's only in the game. It's only used for Underworld Breach.
Well, and I
Yeah,
think
that's true.
that goes back to like the reserve list cards. Like I
So,
just don't
I mean,
understand
although,
why that's good for the game.
Honestly, Lion's Eye Diamond, if you want to cast your commander, there you go. There's your 3 mana to cast your commander for
Yeah.
0.
I mean, you don't get a hand.
yeah,
after,
but it's
Yeah.
crazy expensive. It's like $400 or $500, isn't
right.
it?
Yeah, it's a
But you know
stupid
what?
expensive
That
card.
actually might be playable in Jingle Texas. Maybe I should think about playing the card I just said to ban.
But if they separate,
See what happens?
if they
See?
separate CDH out, I wish they would address the reserve list because not all the cards, but I don't understand how someone can come to the table. And we have played with someone who owns Tabernacle Pendled Veil, and it's
play
ridiculous.
Gaia's Cradle.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I also played Jeweled Lotus, and
Like,
I
I
played
think
Mana
Gaia's
Crypt.
Cradle should be
when they're
banned in a casual
banned, I
list.
will take them out of my deck. I'm suggesting that maybe the reserve list should not be allowed in EDH. CEDH, yes.
I mean, there's a lot of reserve list cards, though, that cost very little money and are not very good.
Right, yes. I'm not
Some of
really
them cost
worried
very
about
little
that.
money
I'm
and
worried
are
about
decent.
the expensive ones, right?
But there's some that cost very little money and are decent.
Yeah, I mean, but
So just maybe what I'm saying is those ones that are really expensive, they're really expensive because they're really powerful. They're probably really powerful and need to be banned.
yeah, I mean, I'm just saying if we're gonna look at the CEDH and EDH ban list, and your point is we're gonna have these cards be allowed to play in CEDH because the heart of that game is combo out as quickly as possible to win the game because it's competitive, and then we're gonna have these cards banned in EDH because the point of this is we want players to have a slugfest and for people not to be able to win by turn 2. There's going to be a lot of cards that are banned on this list. Everything from Thassa's Oracle to, in my opinion, Roman Throne to Gaia's Cradle to probably a lot of other cards that we wouldn't really think of banning, but because they shoot the game too quickly into one person's favor, it would have to fall on that list.
I
Chain
don't
of
think
Vapor.
I don't think it's
Yeah,
just
Chain of
speed.
Vapor.
It's also the play style is casual.
What's the small one? What's the one?
Oh, the Chain of Smog.
yeah, the black
That
one
one's
that
gotta go.
wins games.
That one's got.
Yeah, I have it in my cast deck. It wins games
It's by
because
itself.
the wording's so poorly.
I
on it.
don't mind cards that win the game as long as they don't cost 2 or 3 mana.
No,
Yeah, it costs 2 mana.
it costs 2 mana.
No, 3
How does
mana.
it win the game at 2
Because
mana? I don't know what it is.
Because what it does is it's 2 and a black. You discard 2 cards, and then you can pick a target person, and then they can recast this if they'd like to. Well, the stipulation is you don't actually have to have cards in your hand, so you just keep targeting yourself, and all you have to do is have one person, one thing on the field that says whenever you cast an instant or sorcery, you deal 1 damage to a player, and you
Oh.
win.
But it
Yeah,
does
that's-
something too. What's the effect it does?
You just discard 2 cards.
That's the effect.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, target player discards 2 cards. You may pick another player. They may copy the spell if they'd like to.
Part of this,
So you
too-
choose yourself, and you just keep choosing yourself over and over and over again, even if you don't have cards.
Yeah,
to
it doesn't
discard.
say another player. It says a player.
A player, and it doesn't say you have to have cards in your hand. It says it's just part of the spell after you cast it. It's not part of the casting cost. It's just what the effect is.
What I will say after doing
So-
this is I don't want to be on a board to make this decision. These decisions are very tough.
I
Whoever
wouldn't,
decides
I wouldn't
to
mind
be-
being on a board. I honestly
Whoever-
think
What?
it would be fun. And as long as you don't do stupid things like ban
yeah, but
3 of the
what you think
major
what
cards.
you think is stupid, other people think is great, and what you think is great, other people think is stupid.
But here's the thing.
It's opinion.
This is going back into the last episode a little bit, but the rules committee has no interest in commander players. And by that I mean
What?
it's not like they put out polls and say, "What do you think?"
Yeah, it's more about I don't know. It's hard to say because it's like they care about the game, but also
But their version of the game, only their version.
yeah. I mean, well, and that's
Well,
what
they made
that's
the game.
well, but that was also the point of the advisory council.
But
which-
their original game they made, that's not what they're playing now. There are still people playing that. We've talked about it, what I call EDH and more Commander, but they don't play that anymore. They play closer to Commander. That's why these cards were an issue, because that's what they play.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, whoever decides to be on the board, you have my support because holy cow, it's a tough job. It's a tough
Yeah,
job.
I mean, I'll never be that much clout that I could even be on the advisory group. But I mean, I feel like at least I would know enough to you put out polls. Every Magic Con, they should have a poll booth for Commander players to go in and vote.
I mean, look,
they
I don't
scan
have
their badge, so they only get to vote once, and they vote on what they think should or shouldn't be banned, or should there be no bans.
I don't mind polling people. I just you look at politics, you look at business, you look at marketing. Polling does not always work. Like you start making decisions just on like what the populace says. It's tough.
Well,
it's also tough because you will have trolls.
Yeah.
Right. Well, and here's the thing.
I don't play Commander, but I got a badge.
Yeah.
Right. I will say this too. So one of the things that happens is when you give people what they want, they often find out that they don't want it.
Right.
No, that's probably true.
So what happens is when you get to that level, what's going to happen is you're going to have all these people who kept voting and saying this was the right thing to do, and then when they get there, the community dwindles because it's like all of these things are horrible. Not everyone can be happy, right? You can't make everybody happy. So I do think that asking the opinion of the population of Commander is important. I don't know if it should weigh heavily into the decision or if it's something where it's going to be, because it's kind of like in Community, the show that we watch. There was an episode where they had to get a student school body president, and like they voted in a weasel or something, like because there's trolls,
Yep.
But at the same time, like there are people who genuinely do love this game. I mean, we love playing this game and spending time playing this game and hanging out with each other. And we try to stay up to date with all the stuff that they're doing and everything else. But yeah, I mean, ultimately there is a level of you can only let the people decide what they want so much before they bring it to its own destruction.
I do think there's maybe some value in the community having input on who's on the board.
That is true. I would say that needs to happen.
Maybe that's the American side of me, but like
I would go a step further. All the other formats of Magic are controlled by Wizards of the Coast. Wizards should pay them.
Great.
And thereby have oversight over them.
Fantastic.
And when they do something stupid like this, slap their hand and say, there's a way to go about this and there's a way not to, and you just did the way not to.
Let's be careful though, because like we talked about last time, we don't know what challenges they had. We don't know what Wizards said they could and couldn't say. We don't know we don't know all the information.
We don't know any of the information.
Yeah, other than what they told us.
Term limits, dude. Let's enact them. Term limits.
Yeah. Can't have it in government, but let's have them on the rules committee.
Yep. You know what?
Yeah.
So
it's a tough job.
It is. It's hard, and I think us all working at the same company, I can say probably we've seen this happen at the company we work at, where we try to do something and then management sometimes very quickly hears back feedback, whether it's from the customers or from the employees or whatever. And so I can't imagine what it's like when you're getting feedback from hundreds of thousands of people across the world you've never met telling you that you're an idiot, you made a horrible decision, why did you think that this was okay, and all the other nonsense that's been going on.
And a specific demographic of people. Like, you're not dealing with a broad base. I mean,
but here's the thing:
nerds, geeks,
I guarantee you,
like all of us type people.
They're not getting very many that say, "Hey, that was a great move."
I mean, I know.
Well, the ban, I don't know that I love how they did it, but I don't know who to blame for that completely. But I think the ban list will ultimately be good for Magic.
I agree. I think
so.
Overall this will be good. And I still believe that it was a way of saying to Wizards, we're not going to put up with your shenanigans anymore.
It might have been.
If you print something broken, we're banning it.
Good. I hope they continue that.
Yeah.
So get rid of that card we just talked about. The
Roaming Throne.
No, the one with
100%.
all the black pips. It basically just does ridiculous
When
stuff.
I edit this video, I want to have his mouth move with whatever he says and then go, Roaming Throne.
Yeah. No.
Here, I'll give you the cup for it. Ready?
I just don't think it's that bad.
Yeah.
I mean,
Jeff, you don't play enough with other people to see it.
It's so stupid. It is so
I have
silly.
it in a ton of decks, so every time I play, I see it.
Every 1 month he plays.
Yeah. When you do it, it's not going to seem gross. When somebody else does it to you, it's going to seem a lot worse.
Yeah, and it's a 4-drop.
I mean, it has. I just told you it's on all the decks I made. Those are the decks I play.
Yeah. So is it in
my kids
Atraxa?
play. What?
Is it in Atraxa?
No, because I made a rule.
Because it's too mean.
No, because I set a rule for myself that if it isn't in a typal deck, I'm not playing it.
Atraxa is a typal deck. It's Planeswalkers.
No.
Yeah. What are you talking about?
I mean,
That's
it is. but yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. No, he's saying what we said to me. That's not a triple deck.
I made a rule though that I would
that's
only
true.
put it in a creature
Well,
typal
that's
deck.
very good for you, but that means you are limiting it by your rule. So you're not getting to see because the general populace does not limit. That's why we have bans. But anyway,
so I suspect people should be less
no,
ridiculous.
I'm not 100% on banning it, but I think if they banned it, I would understand.
It's power level. There's so many things that are, I feel like, equal power level to that for that mana cost.
Yeah,
but
by the way, while we were talking about bans, real quick, anybody here think One Ring should be banned?
nope.
No, there's not enough ways to break it to make it worthwhile because you can't flicker it to get in, protection from everything.
No, but you can
have to
flicker it
cast
to get rid of the counters.
Yeah, you can flicker, but then you're losing out on all the draw.
You still get draw. You just get less.
Yeah, you get a lot less.
Yeah. But
Yeah, if you have 4
once it's done,
flicker
20
in
damage
general
to
is
you.
broken anyways. What are you going to make it less broken?
Yeah, no.
So, I mean,
in the
you're
beginning when it was
pointing-
printed, I think a lot of people were like, "Oh, it's going to get banned," but it's
fine.
It's been fine.
Yeah.
But anyway,
Well, I think the main reason why is you are significantly giving up a lot of life to maintain that card on the field. So
yeah.
I think that's a huge cost to it. Is like the longer you keep it out
they
there,
worded
the
it
worse
in
it
a
gets.
way that it's hard to prevent that loss of life.
Right.
Because it's loss of life. So like
Plus, it's
glacial
not that
chasm
fast. You have to
doesn't work.
build up the counters. It costs 4 mana. Ristic
Well,
Studies
4 mana's not
3.
that bad.
There are cards that cost 2. Like, it's in the realm of what other draw engines are.
Yeah.
So,
Yep. Well, but its
the-
ceiling is way above.
well, the green draw
Yeah.
engines are nuts.
And by the way, do you play that in Atraxas?
Yes, I do. The green draw engines are nuts. They're every time you play a creature, you're drawing a card, and sometimes that can really go off.
That is
or
so-
the one where you
I
sack
guarantee
a
you,
creature.
Ristic Strutty draws more cards than that.
Yeah.
Well,
The other thing that does put it above the Ristic Study, I would say, is that it is indestructible, so you can't destroy it. You have to exile it.
Yeah.
That's the other thing that kind of sucks about the One Ring is like it's hard to get rid of, even though it's an artifact. Like,
Yeah, it's even hard for you to get rid of, especially if you're not playing a flicker color.
yeah.
You're just like, oh, I'm going to take 6 next turn. Oh, now I got to take 7.
Please.
yeah, but I've never
Please.
worried about that. I've always been
Please.
like, all right, bring it on. More
What's
card
the
draw.
most counters you've seen on it, real quick?
Well, I have it in Atraxa, so
I've
probably,
seen 12.
Yeah, I've probably got above 12. Yeah,
I mean, the most I've seen, I think, is 6.
but I'm
maybe
with
7.
Tough.
you know
Something on it.
if I'm drawing
Listen, I don't play as much as you.
You're
nerd.
so innocent.
if I'm drawing 12, 13, 14 cards, because you remember I play Necropotence too, and I'll go down to 12
and the new
life.
one, too?
Have the new one. I only have one of those though, but I'll go down to 12 life.
Necropotence will probably get banned if they split the list.
I don't think
I don't
it will.
think so. No.
Nah, it's too gross.
I don't think it sees enough play.
Yeah.
So, anyway.
Maybe not.
But I think that's all we have time for today. Thank you for listening to us ramble. I'd like to thank Jack May at Info Pilgrims once again. If you can check us out at commanderspod.com, email us at cast@commanderspod.com. What's your substitutions? We'd love to hear them.
Yeah.
You know, what have you got to say about what's replacing Dockside? I think that's definitely the hardest of the 3 to replace because it's color specific.
And it's a little bit more ridiculous what it does.
Right.
The other 2 are straightforward.
But
2 or 3 mana.
you can support us at patreon.com/commanderspod. Check out our YouTube, Commanders Pod on YouTube. And if you would be so inclined, when next you play Magic, please kill Andrew first.
If you can.
Commander's Pod, where the stories unfold, with heroes and villains, new and old. Duncan, Jeff, and Sloan guide the way in the world of E-Age we play. So tune in, friends, let's draw and go. In the Commander's Pod, the love will show. From our decks to yours, we share the spark in this world of magic. We'll leave a mark.